Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, herewith I would like to present to you our paper on the strategies of Ajengans in mediating Islam and local tradition in rural West Bandung Regency. Thank you for the board of International Conference on Islam, Law and Society INCOILS, the 13th in UIN Lampung. Okay, here as Muhammad Taufik Rahman, Pailani Setia, and Asep Iwan Setiawan would like to present our research on Ajengan strategies for mediating the stream of syncretism. It is the local culture of a hamlet, hamlet in West Bandung. Okay, introduction. The spread of Islam for the first time to Indonesia was carried out in an accommodative and inclusive manner, not to say syncretism with local culture. Islam does not necessarily change or even eliminate these traditions, but maintains them until the next process, namely expressing them with Islamic values. For example, the role of Wali Songo, the nine science, in using art in spreading Islam. This model gave birth to a distinctive Islam in the archipelago. The interaction between local tradition and Islam will give birth to changes in new tradition with an acculturative model. So this is the grand narrative about Islam in Indonesia, which is accommodative. And then how this implemented into a local culture we can see in the next following presentation. Okay, the actuality of Islam in history has made Islam unable to be open from the aspect of locality ranging from Arabic, Persian, Turkish, Indian, Malay, including Indonesia with their respective characteristics. But there is a common thread that does not and strengthen one another, namely universal values, the Tawhid. Okay, Islam is one of the colors of Islam. Okay, next. However, in the next decade, the idea of purification of Islam from traditions, values that are considered un-Islamic began to surface. Both ideas and movements came from individuals and groups. Unfortunately, the purification carried out even tends to abolish local culture because it is considered contradictory. It could be, we can go fast to the Padri movement in somewhere in West Sumatra, that is around Padang. One of the purification process. But see that this is not totally succeed. In fact, the labeling of traditional and modern Islam group that began to surface has caused serious accusation for traditionalist organizations that are considered old-fashioned, traditionalist, and anti-modern. So, actually, what happened is that the traditional Islam is in fact still recognized by the society. Okay, next. In fact, what NU, that's Nahdlatul Ulama, has done, especially in its religious pattern, put forward the values and patterns of tawasut, moderate, intidal, proportional, tasamu, tolerant, and tawazun, balance. By placing a balance between naqal, that is from the Qur'an, and akal, that is from reasoning, causing this mass organization has good prospects in efforts to build peace in the midst of a multicultural country. So this NO inclination toward peace and harmony uh, brought about to some remote places such as this Dusun Lembur Sawah or Hamlet. The majority of NU people have high respect for Ajengan. This is the scholars, religious scholars of Islam. Ajengan is the highest class in people's life. This research will focus on the study of traditions, especially melemenyan. This is burning incense by sharpening the problem on community perceptions of local tradition and the role of NU Ajengan in the meeting between local tradition and Islamic doctrine, especially in the Lembur Sawah Hamlet, West Bandung Regency. Okay, the method we are using is qualitative with the type of phenomenological research. The data collection process was carried out through direct observations and interviews as primary data and literature data collection as a secondary data source. Observations were made by visiting the local location directly, namely Lembur Sawah Hamlet, Sukaresmi village of West Bandung Regency, with the aim of seeing the socio-religious activities of the community. Interviews were conducted with Hamlet community leaders and the successors of NU Ajengans from previous Ajengans who have contributed to acculturating Islam and local culture in Lembur Sawah Hamlet. Finally, the authors also had the opportunity to visit the Nurul Hidayah Islamic boarding school in Sukaresmi village, where there are manuscripts of stories about the spread of Islam in the Cianjur coastal West Bandung area written by Mama Kiai Haji Zarakasi. Okay, first about perception. Perceptions from local tradition. In Lembur Sawah Hamlet, there used to be many residents who made offerings and burned incense. The tradition contains the message of ancestors to always be in touch with the Creator, nature, and man. If not done, then subtle beings will disturb humans. That's the belief. And then the tradition of burning incense is also usually performed before the processions of planting paddy or crops in the field of planting paddy in the Huma or hills. If not done, then it is believed that there will be harvest failure. There are also believed that ancestors' feast consists of 7 kinds of flowers, 7 kinds eggs, sweet coffee, bitter coffee, tobacco, cigar, sirih, and incense. Okay, the role of Ajengan. This is the strategies we are talking about. That the first is strengthening the understanding of the community. To correct to the Islamic way, the Ajengans used to read Qur'an such as Surah Yasin and Waqi'ah instead of burning incense. The readings in the offerings are replaced by the reading of tahlil, tahmid, and salawat. And then previously meaning such as ancestors who communicate with citizens were corrected by NU advocates understanding monotheism. Also, another understanding that has also been rectified is the questions of residents' belief in haunted forest or forbidden forest. Recently, this understanding began to disappear with the efforts of NU leaders who strengthened this understanding through theological and ecological approaches. Another important concept that also related to destiny and strengthened Qada and Qadar in Islam. All these concepts are propagated with the approach of effort and initiative as a livelihood smoother farm and various other efforts in line with the teachings of Islam. That's the first. And the second, setting themselves, the Ajengan, to be an example for the community. The Ajengans gave an example of the tradition of melemenyan, that is burning incense, performed together with the khotmil Qur'an and tahlil together. And then this alms, sadaqah, and then organizing shahri'ah and manakib. Also reciting tawasul to the Prophet and companions and the scholars. The event also ended with a meal together by preparing dishes similar to those served on previous community beliefs, including cigarettes, coffees, fruits and eggs, and chicken meals. Protecting the environment and prohibited forest and other vegetation. And another example is that not to judge the situation and knowledge of the villagers. The last one is preserving tradition. Using the rules implemented by NU in modifying local tradition, the most effective means are through other traditions in the form of Sharia and manakib. So this is something replacing something with something else. These traditions are an effective means of dialogue and correcting misconceptions about ancestor culture by focusing on the common reading or reciting of the holy verses of the Quran, hadiths, blessings, and praises to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And then efforts to inherit the tradition, for example, by carrying out the tradition exactly as carried out by the residents of Lembur Sawah Hamlet. This is as the tradition of Melemenyan, that is burning incense, change. This tradition continues, but is substantially through events such as tahlilan, Yasinan, shahriahan, manakiban in mosques and madrasas. The last one is the efforts to modify the tradition are also done through studies, to be understand, to make people understand what is really like to be Islam. Okay, thank you for this presentation. We wish our conference succeeded. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.